Hi, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to fix a reclining chair. The cable that extends the footrest has come loose. Now when we pull the lever, nothing happens. So put something on the floor or an ottoman or cushions, because now we're going to flip the couch onto this blanket. Alright, so the cable is actually here at the back and it's supposed to be connected to this piece here. This is totally broken. Here is the leftover. The actual wire part here has actually snapped. So what I need to do now is just replace this cable. All right, I have a replacement unit. You can get these quite easily online, Amazon, etc. So I just need to remove the old one. On the side of the mechanism is this attachment point for the cable. I need to remove this. I just need to squeeze these two tabs and this comes out. So I depress that side and that side at the same time and removed it from this fitting. If your cable was still intact, all you need to do is bend this round and pull it out. Now my cable is actually snapped, so I'm just moving it one side. So on the side here, you'll notice there's a screw there and there's one on this side. So I just need to unscrew these screws. So using a star screwdriver, I just unscrew that screw. And there's the other. On some units, the cable might be fastened to the wood. You'll have to remove that fastener in order to remove the cable. So this is the brand new one and this is the old one. They might look exactly the same, but they are slightly different. So you'll need to decide if you're going to reuse your old one or use the new one. What you want to look out for are the sizes. For example, the width over here should be the same as that because often it's a bit bigger here and it's hard to get in. The next very important thing is the screw placement. While these look identical and the length is the same, the screw placement is slightly different. So if I use this one, I'll end up having to make a new screw hole. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just making a point about it. I want to see if this replacement one will fit in the hole. So I insert the replacement one and I can see it is a bit snug, but it does fit. So I can use the replacement one or I can use my old one. If I wanted to reuse the old one, I just have to remove the old cable. There's just a spring holding it here. So I push the two sides together and I can just slide that up. All right, now I'm just checking the replacement cable and the new cable to see if the end part is going to be the same. Yes, they're pretty much the same. So I'm just doing a quick check. This is the brand new one and yes, it is going to fit in there. Right, so if I'm reusing the old one, I've got to take this piece and slot it in there like that. And then I've got to turn it. So it's got a lock in place there. Now I unscrew these two screws and I just need to place it over here and then I just need to tighten it. So I'm going to lock it in place with these two screws. Right, so I'm just using a pair of pliers to tighten this. Now this one's plastic, so I've got to be careful. I can't make it too tight, otherwise I'll snap the plastic. Now this one has a little spring clip that holds it in place. So I can put the spring clip over it and then just lock it back in place underneath there. Right, so that spring clip locks it in place so this can't pop out. Now the replacement one is metal and it is threaded over here. So what I need to do is I open this first nut over here. I get it completely off. I then feed this part in the hole there and it looks like that. So now it looks like that. Now what I do is I take this part here and I rotate this. It should tighten easily, no forcing, so I'm not cross-threading. Right, so it's easy to turn here. And the reason why it can turn is remember that the other side has not been fastened yet. And I've just put that nut on there for now. The reason is I need to check now how much free play is present. And what I mean by that is as follows. Once I install this side, I might find that this is a little bit loose. So in order to tighten it, I would have this at the maximum. If this is already too tight and it's wanting to release the footrest, then I can turn this in more, making this piece closer, which actually will in turn lengthen this side. So what I can actually do is I can adjust the length of this side by how much I thread this side. So what I need to do now is actually install it and take a measurement. All right, I'm just putting in the cable now. And I'm just leaving this out now. It doesn't have to be installed. I just want to see how much free play is present. Right, so now I just need to calibrate the length. So this is the maximum, which actually makes this part shorter. Then on this side, you do have a little bit of room here to make it a bit shorter as well. Not a lot, but you can unscrew this just a little bit. So you've got a little bit of an adjustment there. Now your cable might have an adjuster that looks like this. Notice I can unscrew this and then lock it in place with this lock nut. So what I would do now is I'll insert this over here. You might have more than one hole here, allowing you shorter or longer run. Okay, so now I'm just going to insert that in there. And I can see this is quite loose. All right, so if I do a trial run, I can see that this will work. It's just that it will actually only release much later. So you'll have to pull a bit further. If you're finding that this is too loose, then you've got to make sure this is at the maximum. Right now it's at the maximum. If it's still too loose, then I can unscrew this part a little bit. There's a little bit of adjustment scope over here. If this is too tight and you want to reduce this tension, then I unscrew this. This has to be released, and now I turn this. And just allow the cable to twist here. And I turn it and turn it and turn it. So now it looks more like that. And notice there's a lot more free play, but in your case, if this was already tight, then maybe that's what you needed. In my case, I need to make this as short as possible. So I'm going to lengthen it here and lengthen it a bit here. All right, so I've lengthened that and I can just lock it in place. All right, so it is much better now. It is already quite tight, so I can see that this will work. Right, allow the cable to be relaxed inside there. Notice there are no harsh bends, and it feeds here to the handle. Right, it's time to screw the handle in. It will be easier if you release this while you're screwing in the handle, so it's not under tension. So I'm just going to push this there, release that, and now I'm going to screw in the handle while this has been released. You don't have to release this. You can also screw in the handle while this is still attached. So this is much easier now because it's not under that full tension. If possible, try locate the original holes. Now this is upside down, so you run the risk of screwing this in a little bit skew. So you want to align this straight. So you have to make sure that this is straight. So if it's easier, you can screw this in while the couch has been put back in the upright position, but then you must make sure you've attached that cable. I'm going to screw it in while it's in this position. I'm just going to make sure it's straight. In my case, I'll have to make a new hole because the screw holes were slightly different on the replacement unit. So I'm screwing it in at a bit of an angle. And notice how it actually pulled inwards. So that's why I screwed in at an angle, so there's no lip here. And the same applies for the bottom. Right, so the screw is fed in. I'm pushing this in, and I'm also going at an angle. Right, and I can just put this back in place, allow that to straighten, and the unit is now fastened. Operate it a few times, make sure that does not pop out. Now on some units, it might require this lever to be pulled very far. So it might need the full travel, and therefore this wire needs to actually be pretty tight. And therefore even a little bit of free play might be too much. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in here, and I'm going to work out how much cable is in excess here. All right, so I can tell that I've got an additional 1 centimeter of cable here. So I'm going to shorten this wire and crimp it. Right, now I'm just going to cut off the part that is making it too long. Now, if you still want to use the spring, you can put it over there. I don't need the spring because it's now going to be pretty tight. Right, now I'm just going to put a ferrule on top here, halfway in. Now I'm going to crimp the ferrule right on the edge. So I've crimped the ferrule. Now I'm taking the other side and inserting it over there. Right, now I crimp this side. Now I can feed that in there, and yes. Right, I've shortened that, and now when I release the handle, you can see the mechanism is actually working. A long-term solution is also to use a screw, 2 nuts, at least 1 washer, preferably 2 or 3, and a lug. I put a washer on the one side and insert the screw. I then put another washer on the side. The lug must be big enough to go over the screw and move freely. The lug must have only a small opening for the cable. Push the cable all the way in and crimp it. Once it's crimped, you can insert the lug over the screw. And now place another washer over there, and now insert 1 nut over there, and I don't make it completely tight. This should be able to move freely. And now insert another nut over here. I'll hold the first nut in place while I tighten the second one. That will hold the fitting in place, but the lug will still be able to rotate freely. Pulling on the cable will then pull the lever, and it will have this free play here, and it won't wear out very easily. This will last very long. If you don't have this piece, or this piece is damaged, or you've made a mistake with the ferrule option, you can use a slightly larger ferrule, and then you can feed the cable through there, and then you can make a loop here. And you can also put a ferrule like this. You can crimp it twice. If you do this option, just make sure that this does have a bit of free play, but that the ferrule must be quite close to the lever, because we don't want the ferrule getting caught here, blocking the travel of the cable through the sleeve. However, this method is subject to wear here, because ideally it should be formed like this in order to pull the lever. And if you don't have a crimping tool, you can clamp the wire using a clamp like this, but these additional methods are not ideal. These are just workarounds. Thanks for watching, and cheers.